Hey, this is Jory Elliott, and you're listening to the Late Shift Sports Show with Kyle Kozier.
I love it. Jory, welcome to the show, my friend. How's it going?
Really good. I'm happy to
Yeah.
be here and chat with you. Yeah,
I love it. Like from the
we have
days
so
that
much in common.
I know, from the days of going back into I think when you hosted the Motorsport show back in London is when we really got connected. And that was
When you brought your open wheel car
I know.
sponsored
And
by Home Depot. Yeah, that was cool.
and it's crazy because you look at it now and it's 2026 and that was I look back, it's like almost like 15 years ago. Like it's crazy how
Yeah,
much
that
time flies,
would have
right?
been like 2010
Yeah.
era. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I had more brown hair.
I think we all
Like
did.
way like
Honestly.
way more. Way
Oh,
more.
we all
Yeah.
did. We were better shape, and we didn't
Oh,
have
speak for
cell phones.
yourself. I think I'm in the
So,
best shape I've.
Jory, I love it. So, if people don't know this, is Jory Elliott. He's a good friend of mine. We have, like I said, so much in common. Hockey guy, motorsport guy. His dad's a legend in great and drag strip racing there. And I really just want to get into it. So we're gonna make this a two-part series. Jory's gonna get into his motorsport side of thing for this episode, and then the next episode we're gonna go into more hockey detail, mental illness, for health reasons wise, and we're gonna talk about that. But Jory, let's get into the motorsport thing because you're honestly my first guest that I had for motorsport racing, and you and we both grew up around the racetrack at such a young age. Your dad again inducted into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame.
hmm
So let's get you into how you got into racing. Obviously, your father, but let's just go. What attracted you to the sport, and what got you into drag racing?
Well, I mean, I was a little rugrat getting dragged around the tracks all over North
Yep.
America with my
Yeah,
dad.
yeah.
So everywhere from Ontario to Nova Scotia to Florida to Texas, and there's a lot of car people. There's a lot of people who appreciate cars, and I think when you start to, understand that, you start to understand the affinity for like this is something that I can get into. My
Yep.
mind finds joy in it. The competitiveness, like that's something that as you get older, you start to realize there aren't as many opportunities to do that. So I'm really grateful for that part of it. But essentially, what happened for me to start driving, as you know, I did marketing and PR for many, many years and trade shows. Um, Organized that event that brought Kyle Busch to Delaware Speedway back in 2010. So some neat stuff. But then right around that same time, my dad had a super stock A modified, which is a really fast but stock looking car. And he just said, I think you'll be a better driver than me. And uh, hypothetically tossed me the keys. There's no keys, as you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But he said, let's see how you do. And I had always wanted to. And so at this point, I'm 30 years old and I get to go racing with my mom and dad and hang out. And I think the first race we went to was Atco, New Jersey.
Okay.
Talk about like not culture shock, but just the sheer number of cars and then the number of really skilled competitors that were there. It was I've been exposed to it my whole life, but it's totally different when you're the one sitting in the car getting ready to go.
Yep.
Um, and there's a whole story there about my style and how I approached it back then versus how I approach it now and the differences in the outcomes. But yeah, that's really how I got there was just by chance, I guess. My dad said, "You want to try this?" And I said, "Yeah, hell yeah. I've been
So
waiting. When this is the time? Okay, let's go."
your family vacations, an average person would say we went to Florida, Walt Disney World, or whatever, and yours was just around the racetrack, drag racing as a little kid, camper. I'm assuming trailer or van or whatever, maybe a
Yeah,
motel or somewhere, right?
motels.
Yep.
Yep,
Truck
motels,
stop,
and
truck stop
we
food.
would. Yep, and we would tie in, a little bit of a side journey, a
Yep.
side quest on our trip. So we went to see Stone Mountain, which is this like laser etched, or I don't know how they did it in the South in the US somewhere. And we went up in the Statue of Liberty, but all just on the path, right? So weaving your way home from the races, and we might stop for half a day. That might have been my dad's way of appeasing my mom to actually do something other than go to the races. I don't know. But I saw so much cool stuff because of going to the races.
Yeah.
Just even just going down the highway, and being part of that environment where you're playing music trivia for hours on end because there's nothing else to do. We didn't have cell phones back then. You're reading billboards, you're, looking at the things out the window. And that was in and of itself an adventure and like a little vacation.
And it's funny that you say that because when I lived in the States, my dad would always take a different way to get back to Canada to visit
Mm,
family. And every way it was like, oh, we're going to stop and see Elvis Presley's house, right?
yeah.
Or we're going to stop at St. Louis, Missouri and stop and see the Ark, right?
Yep.
I look
Yep.
back at it now, and I think both of us could agree that we've had such a different lifestyle compared to most kids that grew up because a lot of them don't even see that. They
Yeah.
don't. Everybody goes and sees like I want to see New York City or I want to see Orlando, Florida, but
Yep.
nobody goes and says I want to see the small town in the middle of nowhere that has a mom and pop shop that makes the best pancakes in the world,
Yep.
right? And I
Yep.
think that's such a unique opportunity, like a unique perspective on both our ends, just to see what you did, right? So what was your favorite place seeing, going as a road trip?
Oh my
Could you
goodness.
see your place going back and saying, you know what, I want to go back to this place 20 years from now and see what it's like? Or there's just so many, right?
There's so many, but there's a few experiences, as a driver that stand out. Um, One was going to Indianapolis for the first time. So like the drag
Okay.
strip in Indianapolis, which is they call it the Big Go. It's the biggest drag race of the year.
Yep.
Competitors come from all over. There's like 150 competitors in every class. So like 700 cars at this race, all competing at the same time. Essentially, it's kind of bananas. But I had never been there. My dad raced there in 1993,
Okay.
and that race is on Labor Day weekend. And he raced there in 1993 in Nitro Funny Car, which is the highest you can go in the sport, essentially. And I wasn't allowed to go to that race because I had to go to school. It just
Oh,
happened to be my first year, my first year of high school, and so my dad said you got to stay home and go to school. And I always wanted to go to Indy. It has something to it. And so I haven't been there for the U.S. Nationals yet. We're planning to go this year with the current car we have. But I have been there for divisional races, and that, just to think about, and you could relate to this too, you've been to Montreal for the F1 race and different
yep.
things, and
Yep.
just to stand there, like I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about standing there in the place where all of this historic stuff has happened,
Yep.
and the meaning of that to people, whether they're spectators or the racers or the crew guys or whoever, kids and wives and all that stuff. It's pretty humbling to stand in a place like that and think that you get the opportunity to go down there. So that's one for sure, that the first time we pulled in the gates there, but there's some incredible facilities out there. Like the drag strip in Chicago is unbelievable. It's like a stadium. The grandstands wrap right around and connect to the tower.
That's cool.
So that was cool. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I saw the arch in St. Louis just last year when we were
Yep.
out touring around. We went to Fort Wayne because the team owner I was driving for was from Texas, and
Yep.
that was really cool. Downtown Texas, seeing like horse and carriages. I don't know. It's racing does give you these unique perspectives. I think the one story that I always tell that really puts it into perspective for everyone, who I grew up with, is I used to go to racetracks with my dad when I was 6, 7 years old, and we would be the only three white people, him, me, and the crew chief at the racetrack.
Okay.
And you don't get that exposure to that anywhere around here. So I
Right.
feel very lucky to have had that opportunity. to realize that we're all just people who freaking love cars and the smell of burning rubber,
You
and
know,
loud exhaust. Like honestly, that's what it is. So
I
those,
think that's what brings everybody that's what brings everybody together is just the smell of, octane burning, horsepower, the low rumble.
yep,
It's just a bunch of guys or women, both girls and boys, just sitting around and being like, listen to that, just having a
yeah,
coffee first thing in the morning. Yep.
yeah. And what is it about all the different it's like music almost, like the different variations of engine combination and exhaust sounds, and like it's just none of it sounds bad.
No, no.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I know that we're kind of going into this electrical world, but nothing beats the sound of a V8, you know, popping away, you
Rumbling
know,
away. Yeah.
that flames out the side of it going, whatever it is down a drag strip,
Right.
right? You just don't
Well,
get
that's
that.
the most extreme version, I would say,
Yeah, yeah.
of a motorsport where you can see the physical outcome of what's happening in the engine. Like
But
that
if you
is,
went at
yeah.
nighttime, I'm sure you could see more. If you really think about it, right? Like
Oh
if
yeah.
was at night, people would be
Yeah.
like amazed at just how much power goes out of an engine, right? It's the same thing with airplanes. You look at
Uh,
an old Coney
yep.
that's taking off at 9 o'clock at night, and you see the four flames coming out of the exhaust, taking off, right? I don't think people
Yep.
understand how much power and engineering goes behind one of these things.
No, not at all. No, I
No.
can't even appreciate it. I'm in a time when a lot of that work has been done already, right?
Yeah.
So I often think that the best time for me to have been alive would have been during the formative years of drag racing, because I have a fairly natural skill for it, like just the mechanical stuff but I don't I've never really been like in there in the engineering side of it. And that's when so much of that stuff was like they were just learning as they went, which I think is probably the coolest way to learn something. A lot of people got hurt doing that, but they were willing to do that. They made those choices. And I just think, yeah, there's, we have a great appreciation for it because we grew up around it, but I think there's an even deeper appreciation that like I would like to have about the mechanical components of like being an engineer for an F1 team.
Yeah.
That would be a wild
Oh,
job, right? Like the amount of thinking you have to do about specific components and their potential or weakness or how they contribute to the overall is just it's incredible.
I think the logistics side of it is cool. Like
Yeah.
how to get those cars from one country to another, or even the states, right? But you're right though. I think I don't think there's a motorsport that I would say I gear towards because I think every such one is so unique,
They
right?
are.
Like I'm not the biggest NASCAR fan. I'll admit it. But I appreciate what those guys go through for NASCAR, right? It's the same thing. Like
Yep.
I never grew up with drag racing, to be
Yep.
honest, right? But I've always appreciated drag racing. I've always had such a appreciation for the guys at what they do, right? And I think every motorsport has their, I would say, not plus or weaknesses and positives or whatever you want to say, but each one is so different, but they're still the same at the same time. They just do things so differently. Like drag racing, you're trying to get from one end of the track to the other, acceleration as fast as you can, G forces. I've heard guys blacking out, because of the how fast they go, right? Or you got a
Yep.
rally driver that's trying to, go around a corner with two trees next to him, side by
Crazy.
side, doing, everybody's so, I think it's just it's such an adrenaline, right?
Yep.
So let's get into not just drag racing, but let's go into like the small town Ontario motorsport culture, right?
Mm.
It's very different here in Canada versus the United States. What have you seen in that perspective of drag racing from what you grew up to here in Canada versus what it is like in the United States?
It's so interesting because we are very spoiled in southwestern Ontario for drag strips. We've got three within a couple hours distance of
Yeah.
us. Um, and so that's not the norm though across Canada or in Ontario. And I think that it kind of goes back to that story I told about being the only white people at a race in the U.S. There is no difference in the culture itself. Everybody loves it for the same reasons that you and I can have these conversations. We are there because we grew up around it, or we love the mechanical part of it, or we love the competitiveness of it. And I think that, you know, the crossover stuff and where we are with the
Yep.
border so close, New York State and Michigan, we've never really. It's. I don't think it's any different than the U.S. U.S. competitors come over and compete at our tracks. We go
Yep.
over and compete with them. I think it's so much different than like short track stock car or sprint car racing in terms of the communities. So there are little series that run just in Ontario, and they do a great job. And obviously, we know that every motorsport, the participation numbers are shrinking because of the cost essentially
Yep.
of doing it and the time. It takes a lot of time. Um, but there are great little series, and there's some really cool events where you pay a little bit more to enter, but the odds of winning more money are there, and everything from motorcycles and little junior short dragsters up to like the fuel cars. It all exists in Ontario, which is
Right.
insane to me. Like there's a team from Paris area. There's
Okay.
actually two teams from Ontario that compete in the U.S. in top fuel dragster, which is insane that there's two
Wow.
teams doing that from Ontario.
Yep.
I just think that would be like saying that there are two Formula One teams in
Yeah, no kidding.
Ontario. Like it's the same thing. The cost is extravagant. The amount of work that goes into preparing it is insane. Not F1 by any means, but at that same level within our sport. That's what
Right.
they're doing, which is
Uh,
crazy to me.
is the media side different? Like, you know how like United States they
Oh,
focus on media.
massively. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's even changed because I follow that, the marketing and PR side of the sport quite a bit.
Right.
But yeah, motorsports in general in Canada has always been looked down upon
Right.
in a way, as a nuisance almost, and just in general. And in the U.S., they embrace it more. It's part of
Right.
their culture. And so and fascinating really because Michigan was the car capital of North America, and it's right across an hour drive from London, and
Right.
yet two totally different perspectives. So yeah, the media treats racing like it's a really odd hobby to have in Canada versus in the US it's like, oh, that's freaking cool.
I think sports in general in the United States, you notice a difference itself, right? I
Totally.
mean, I think it's just like I don't know if it's just the mentality or whatever, but you go to like a college football game or a baseball game on a Friday night, and the stands are packed,
Heck,
right?
go to a high school football game on a Friday
Exactly.
night.
Exactly.
Right?
Living in the States, like I remember Muskogee, Oklahoma had, I forget if the town size was 13,000, 35,000. Don't quote me. Like it's been years
Yeah.
since I was there. And they
Somebody
still have,
fact check them.
yeah, somebody fact check me. Yeah. But every Friday it'd be almost a sold out game, right?
Yeah.
And here, when I went to high school here in Niagara, and I was like, I thought it was gonna be some big grandstands or whatever, overlooking the field, and it's like, what the heck? Just you gotta bring your own lawn chair, and I was mind boggled, right? But you're
Yep.
right though. I think sports in general in the United States, I don't know why, but the attendance wise, no matter what it doesn't matter what level, but they seem to always fill the stadium, right?
Yeah.
There's passion is just so much different.
Yep.
And I always thought that's something that Canada could always enjoy, but I don't know why they never do.
Yeah, like
It doesn't matter what
the big
level.
races here get crowds.
Yeah, huge.
But we view it more as an entertainment thing than a cultural thing, I think. And
Right,
that's the biggest difference. So it's not a part of who we are as much as just a thing to do, like a spectacle, right?
right,
I know that in Quebec, because I've been there a lot as a as a spectator with my dad racing there and as a
Yep.
competitor myself, that there's a different level of connection to motorsports there for sure. You see it in the NASCAR Canada series with the number of competitors that come from Quebec, the sponsorship that supports
Right.
them, the tracks that they build there. Like nobody's building new road courses for stock car racing anywhere,
Yeah.
but they are in Quebec. So they're just built different there. They have a bit of that. U.S. mentality of how it's intertwined with their culture, I think.
Especially with snowmobile racing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Right? Like Gilles Villeneuve came from snowmobile racing, and then I look at the old videos, and I'm like, man, like the stands are packed watching snowmobile racing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, I think it's more a part of their culture, honestly.
and do you remember years ago where the Fort Erie was supposed to get a motorsport racing track? It's supposed to be like a
Oh, yeah.
whatever happened to that? Do you know?
I think it was a
You,
scam.
wait,
I
no,
think it was
no, I didn't know.
I
I
think it
didn't
was
know.
a, I think it
It was
was a
supposed
money laundering or money, whatever scam, because yeah, that went on for 10 years, Kyle, I think, where they were trying to raise money and they had it was a Jeff Gordon, uh, designed track and all this stuff. And the reality of it is that I think there's two things is that the schedule is pretty much maxed out in NASCAR at this point. So there's
okay.
no more room for any more races. Um, and all of those dates at that time of year are spoken for. So the time of year that would be best to come to Ontario and have a race. I just never saw it as viable at all myself
Right.
personally. But that, somebody thought maybe there was a real intention behind it, but it went on for a ridiculously long time without any action. I don't think they ever owned property. I don't think anything ever really came of it. And who knows what happened to the money that they raised, if they raised any at all.
And it's weird because it was like all talked about, and then
Hmm.
it just disappeared like it was like thin air. Like it was like a huge thing that everybody talked about. Oh, over 4 years getting a racetrack and all that stuff. And then I remember because they talked about that when I was racing cars, and then all of a sudden it just died. Like it was
Yeah.
like no more. Like it was an idea, and then you just forgot about it. And then talking to you, it just brings back memories. But you're right though. It's supposed to be like this big, I think, oval racetrack with a road course, and I don't know if it's
Yep.
supposed to be drag racing or whatever. And it looked like a
They
beautiful
talked about drag racing.
like
Yep.
in the middle of Fort Erie, like supposed to take over like horse racing or something, and then
Yep.
it just died. You're right though, it was dead. So I don't know. I didn't know that it was actually gonna come. I didn't really have any thoughts of it. I was just like, okay, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the I think and we, probably the culture of racing in Ontario is a, detractor to something like that happening too, because it's just not you're not going to get a ton of support from local communities and things
No.
to build something like that. They're all going to be like, no, we don't want it here. Um,
Dunville happened.
and what's that?
Dunville. Remember the
Dunville?
remember the motorsport racetrack in Dunville? They shut it down because they built houses around it, and then they just closed it down because of
Oh,
development. But they never got anybody
oh,
that showed up. It was just like you bring your car and you go and you have fun for the day, and then the track was there first, and then people built a neighborhood around it, and
yeah.
they got enough people to close it down. So yeah, so it's
In the
just the
US, they actually have been passing legislation in many states that
Arkansas.
says, yeah, if you build a house near a existing racetrack, you can't complain
Yeah,
because you're a dumbass.
yeah, exactly. Like the same people that complain about it.
And listen to me. I could go into a whole rant about humans and how we make decisions, but that is the truth. If you buy a home or build a home near an existing thing, whatever it is, mining operation, racetrack, space shuttle launch, I don't
Hmm.
care. You knowingly made that choice. Do not make it someone else's problem that you
Exactly.
made that choice, right? So,
It's not like it
yeah,
in
that's
the.
beautiful that they passed that legislation, though.
It is. No,
Yeah,
I saw that too. I think it was like Alabama or Arkansas or something like that. I think it was the
yeah.
first one.
Well, it's
Whatever.
I
Yeah.
I've I've heard that it's a number of states. That was the one that sort of got the attention. But
Okay,
I've heard that it's a number of states. Yeah.
good for them. I mean,
Yep.
I'm on board with it, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
We need everything to exist. We need
oh yeah,
racetracks and mining. We need it all to exist. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Building fast cars compared to
Hmm.
buying them. What do
Mm.
you like about it? Drag cars. I want you to start. We'll get into it a little bit later, but just give me a sense of what does Jory's mind go through buying a car versus a drag car and building one.
Like, I have recent experience in this. It's more affordable to buy one that's already built. I'll tell you that for a fact, for a fact. Like, it's probably a 50% discount.
Yeah.
Because the labor isn't worth anything at the end of the day once somebody's done all of that. It's like buying a new car and driving it off the lot.
Right.
Once you drive it off the lot, it's devalued significantly. And so I love the challenge of putting the pieces together, but it is a crap ton of work, and especially when you're doing it as a hobby and it's in your spare time. Just as recently as last year, we were building that 2018 Cobra Jet Mustang.
Okay.
There was a shop in Texas that did a lot of the work, but we had it up here for a while and changed rear ends and finished the interior and fabricated a cooling tank for the cooling system. So we were into the whole car, digging into it, building it, finishing it, and that was a ton of fun because then what you have there. Like you know every detail of that car versus what we have now, the dragster we bought. It was like it was like doing an escape room where there's clues to what has gone on in the past or what's there. Like it took us, I don't know how long to figure out the wiring on it. Where do all
Uh,
these wires go?
yep.
Four of them aren't connected to anything. What the heck is going on? Um, and so it's just a different journey. I think that the new building the new car had more excitement to it when you had struggles versus buying something that you believe to be ready to go, but then it isn't or it has challenges is more frustrating,
Right.
at least from my perspective. So
Yep.
that newness of the new car is like, oh, we're creeping up on it. We're making it better every time something happens, versus the one that you buy that you think is ready to go, and then you go to the track and you get 3 runs in, and then something breaks, and you're like, what the frig? This was supposed to be ready to go.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I think if I had the ability to choose and money and time, I would build a race car every time. I just think that
At least
that's the fun of it.
it's like building a house. At least you know what you did to the
Yeah.
house, right?
Yeah,
You
it's your thing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Where
and I
you
think
buying a car from somebody else, you don't know what they did. You don't know their personality. You don't know what you just never know, right?
don't know how they treated it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say for the most part, just like buying a house or anything, most people treat them with respect. It's just you
Right.
get, the car we bought most recently, the dragster is 20 years old. So it's lived a long life already, mostly with one owner. So you're lucky in that way. But, it's pieced together through different things that needed to happen over time to make it competitive, or to bring it up to date. So yeah, it's very interesting the little differences between building and buying, but buying's way cheaper at the end of the day.
What was
Yeah.
your first car?
My first car was an 86 Camaro.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad bought me a used 86 Camaro. It was a little bit rotted out around the wheel wells, which they tend to be.
Yep.
And we did a whole ton of body work on it. I wish I had a picture I could give you to insert here in the
Oh, that's okay.
podcast.
You can figure it out.
Um,
Do
but
that.
we did it um, like blue, really neat GM metallic blue with white racing stripes. It was so cool,
Okay.
but also probably the worst decision ever because I grew up in a small town, so everyone knew it was me driving around. And I was a bit of a wild child, let's just be honest. And so, yeah, the Camaro, just to begin with, probably wasn't a great choice, but then blue with white racing stripes was like asking for trouble, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wish
yeah.
well, at least if it wasn't like social media today where you'd be all over
Right.
Facebook.
Oh,
Could you
I would have been
just
all over Facebook.
so what was the horsepower like? Like what would you get out of it?
Oh, it was a V6, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, and so this would have been 96, so it would have been a 10-year-old car at that point.
So was that the same
Um,
era as like a Firebird from Pontiac? Am I thinking the same kind of era? Because they Pontiac and GM had the same, I think they ran like an LS motor or something like that.
it
But I mean,
was
the
it
V6
would have
version
been I
smaller.
think just before the LS. This
Okay.
is the 80s. I think the LS platform was like 90s, if I'm not
Oh, sorry.
mistaken.
The car was the 80s, but then it was when you were racing was the 90s. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. I remember you saying that now. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, the Camaro was just a V6, and I just booted around in it, like beat the living snot out of it.
Was it turbocharged or
No,
supercharged? Naturally
nope.
aspirated today.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It
Oh,
was not not as sporty as you would hope it would be in a Camaro.
I'm thinking of
But
like
the
a
80s was also the time that they brought in all those regulations for
right.
exhaust and catalytic converters and everything. So they weren't really building cars with horsepower to begin with. And then a V6 Camaro, which it's not a light car, even though it's only a two door. So yeah, it was just underpowered to begin with, I would say, for the most part.
Was that like a T top, or were they called? Were the just the
No, I
top?
never had the T-tops, but the T-tops that was a thing. That was a thing. I had a buddy who had a T-top,
Okay.
like a true IROC Z,
Yep.
87 Camaro. And that thing had balls. Like you could peel through first, second, third into
No
fourth.
problem.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a cool car. That's what I wanted the most was one of those. But I had the, blue with racing stripes and a V6, which was fine.
I'm just getting to the technical side of things because I don't think a lot of kids would know today. Like, was it
Mm,
carbureted versus fuel injected today?
right.
Stuff like
It
that.
was it was fuel injected back
It
then,
was
believe it or
okay.
not.
It
So
was an EFI.
it would have been early fuel injection technology, which for me as a kid and my dad's experience with cars was kind of the limit. Like he didn't really know EFI that well. He was in the
Right.
garage business until 1990. And so this was 96 when I had this car, 96, 97. Um, so yeah, I mean, it didn't give us any problems, but it would have been early electronic fuel injection technology for American car manufacturers, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what horsepower you pushed out of the thing, or you don't?
No, no clue.
No.
I know that by the time I was done with it, it was very tired.
Okay.
I drove the wheels off that thing. Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Did as
feel,
many burnouts as I could.
but I feel like those cars, they had people say, oh, older cars aren't. I wouldn't say they're more unreliable. They're not as unreliable as today. I
Mm,
think it's just the body rusted out.
agreed. Yep.
I
Yep.
think
I
the
think
engines were just as reliable as they are today, just as the bodies were just didn't take the abuse that they do now,
yep.
to be honest.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. I think that the technology in engine, suspension, transmission, all that stuff was very sufficient and durable. Probably,
Simple.
somewhat
It was simple.
simple. Yep. Maybe
Yep.
built with better materials than we do now. Um, and that crap was bulletproof. Like
Yeah.
really, if you treated it with respect, it was pretty much bulletproof.
I was gonna say, the like in today's world, everything is fed on, plugging in a car, you know,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what the computer tells you, what's, list of things that are wrong. But
Yep.
back then, it was, oh, a distributor's going, whatever,
Right.
change
Yeah.
it, right? It's simple things.
It
Oh, the
was
car.
easy to diagnose, easy to fix.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't expensive. You didn't need
Nope.
to bring it to a mechanic to get a diagnostic for an hour and spend there the guy checking every single code there was. It was like, oh,
Right.
it's running rough. Put some new spark plugs in
Yeah.
that thing. Whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you might have got a bad batch of gas. Like who knows? But
Yeah, who
I
knows, right?
agree. I think about this a lot, Kyle, because I think that, technology is amazing and what it's done, but I don't think in many ways it's made our lives better. And
No.
cars would be one example for me where, all of those little doohickeys and stuff are neat. They're neat, but they're not necessary and they just cost way more money to repair. So like tilting mirrors, one of those things gets knocked off, guess what? That's an expensive thing to replace. Oh, you get a crack in your windshield and it's got the heads up display on it and the sensor for rain and whatever. That's way more expensive and it's not, none of it's necessary, like
No.
really not necessary. And I think that's an interesting conversation when you get into racing too, because we have a 20-year-old car with a lot of 20-year-old technology in it. And we could very well update a lot of that, but we don't need to be competitive. And that's where, function over fashion is what I talk about a lot. And I truly believe that. I think that our obsession with technology actually makes our lives more difficult in the long run because we then have more expensive things that we have to fix and replace. And for what? So that my mirrors tilt down. Like, what the heck are we
I'll
doing?
tell you. I'll tell you a quick story. The Honda Pilot that I drive. This is how much of a pain in the ass it is.
Yeah.
Is I was driving and I hit a puddle or something. Interior winter thaw. You get all the snow running or whatever.
Yeah.
And not even 20 kilometers or not even 5 kilometers later, like down the road, the car was telling me that the Honda Pilot was flashing all these lights saying, you check your brakes, check your traction control, like whatever,
Right.
right? Pulled over, and I do like the normal thing. You shut the car off for 30 seconds or whatever. You
Yep.
start, reset the computer, whatever. So I drove normally, and it did it like 3 times, and finally I was like, forget it. I'm taking it to a car wash. Maybe I got one of the wheel sensors, messed up,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause
Yep.
everything is censored, and everything's a computer or whatever. So it
Hmm.
works, and then not even I would say a week and a half later, Ashley and I were going out, and we were going out for dinner or something like that, and all of a sudden the same thing happened again.
Hmm.
So I took a photo of it, and I was like, I'm gonna send it to whoever it is, my mechanic or Honda, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. And so I took a video of it, and next thing you know, I'm getting another thing saying check charging device.
Okay.
So, or charging or whatever. So I thought it was an alternator or a battery going, something electronic, whatever.
Yep.
But it was telling me, check my brakes, check my sensors. It was like flashing everything. So I'm confused. I'm like,
It's
okay, I
it's
don't know
having a
what
shit fit. Your car is
it is.
having a shit fit.
You know what it was? Corrosion around the battery.
Uh,
But
yeah.
it was tripping the computers, not giving a
Yeah.
charge enough to the thing. So
Yeah.
why do I need 10,000 sensors telling me that I got
You
ABS
don't.
problems and whatever? Why
You
can't it
don't.
just be a simple battery light like it was back in the 90s telling me I need a new battery or check the battery or whatever, right? But
Yep.
that's what I'm telling you. It bugs me the fact that it was tripping out every single computer and I'm going through everything.
Yep.
Wheel sensor, like what can it be? Now it's my charging. Is it an alternator? Is it battery? Whatever. I
Yep.
brought it home, shut it off, tried to turn it on right away, it didn't start. It's like,
Yep.
okay, whatever. So I got
So
a
now
tow truck. The next day I
now you're
got a tow truck.
stranded. Yep.
No, I got a tow truck the next day in my driveway, and guess what?
Yep.
It's fired up with no problem.
Right.
So I'm like,
It's
oh,
funny
I'm
because
so mad.
I think about it and I'm like, the sensor used to be the human. So
Yeah,
you would look at
exactly.
your tires and be like, oh, that one's low.
Yep.
Oh, my trunk is open. Like, I don't need a sensor to tell me my trunk is open. I
No.
don't
And now
need
you
it,
got sensors telling you that there's kids in the back of the seat.
right? It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh
I think
man.
that, I do spend a lot of time following motorsports. And so
Yep.
there's a lot of talk about the way the manufacturers are creating this technology to make it so that stuff breaks. And
Okay.
there's somewhat some proof of that in other areas as well, like washers and
Mhm.
dryers and microwaves and fridges and
Oh
all of
yeah,
this
for
stuff that breaks early. And we shouldn't be surprised. These are for-profit companies that think of ways to make money. So
yeah.
if they can think of a way to get more money from you in the beginning and get more money from you during and get more money from you soon again, that's probably not a bad business model. And I think that's what it is.
It's scary to be honest because
Yeah.
it's replacement over repair is what it is. You know,
Yeah.
why
And
not $50? I'll just replace the whole unit for whatever it is, right?
right.
Yeah.
And there's forever being in the racing industry and knowing people who run dealerships, there has always been the question of how do we keep our dealership mechanics busy? Because
Yeah.
their service options were always more expensive. Um, they're probably better trained than others to do it on your specific car, but no one would take their Honda to a GM dealership.
No.
And so I truly believe that this evolution in repair or like replace over repair is because they were trying to figure out how to make those service centers at the dealerships more consistently viable financially.
I heard, I don't know if it was White. There's an old semi truck manufacturer. I think it was White or whatever. They're from Vancouver or British
Yep.
Columbia, from what I understand. And I heard through the old truck drivers the reason why they went bankrupt it was not because they made faulty vehicles, it was because they're too reliable.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. How do you sell more if the one that you built is good? You don't.
And my grandfather, and I think this ties into it. You don't have loyalty like it was 30 years ago or whatever it was.
No.
Like my grandfather, he only bought Pontiac. That's all
Yep.
he bought.
Yep.
Every year it'd be a Pontiac or whatever it was. He was dedicated to Pontiac, right? You hear the families, and it was we only had a Ford, we only had a
Yep.
Dodge,
Yep.
right? You don't have that loyalty, I think, any more than what it
No.
was. I mean, I'm still that old school mentality. I mean, like I love a good GM, right?
Yep.
But I also love a good Ford. I love a good Dodge, but I like the older stuff. I don't like. I'm not a big crazy about the newer stuff, right? But I
Yeah.
think the newer stuff is just so cool, right?
Yep.
So going into you, like, what was your favorite manufacturer growing up? Did you have a favorite car? Did you have a favorite manufacturer?
That's an
Was there ones that
interesting
you razzed your
question.
friends about having? Oh, why are you driving one of these? They're a
Yeah.
piece of shit or whatever. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, growing up around racing for sure, especially in drag racing, where there are physical versions of the vehicles that are
yep.
on the road being raced. Um, I would say we were a Chevy family. Like we had Chevy pickup trucks, GM pickup trucks, and I really enjoyed those. I thought I loved the styling and I loved the feel of them, the way they handled and like the construction of them. Um, but my dad had many different versions of race car. Like he had an Oldsmobile at one point, he had a Dodge Daytona at another point. We've had a Pontiac Sunfire, a Chevy Cavalier. We were racing Fords for 2 years for the team owner from Texas. So like, just give me a race car, I'm good. I'll get in it and drive it. Doesn't matter. Now we have one that isn't. It's an undercover dragster. Like that's the name of the company that built it. It's a dragster. It's built for drag racing. It has no manufacturer attached to it as far as the big ones that we would all know. So yeah, I mean, because I had a Camaro and we had GMC and Chevy
Right.
trucks. I would say I was a GM kid. Um, but I don't think I ever played the game where I was like, oh, you're stupid Ford. We would always make the jokes about found on road dead or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Or
no,
something like that. Yeah.
I've never been that way. I've never been no matter what it is, racing, hockey, anything. I'm not tied to a brand because I don't think brands really care about me.
No.
Um,
I
I
mean, like
think in
we've
the
always,
old
always
days, I think in the old days there was reliability and there were things that were built into that brand that you loved about it. I know that there are certain features that different manufacturers have nowadays, but it's um, not something I've ever really like. I would buy what I needed in the moment, not because it was a whatever.
I think production car or tied into racing or whatever, for me, I'm the same way. Like, I love a Ferrari.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I love
yeah,
an Italian V10 for
yep,
sure. Do I
yep,
like an old school V8 from America? Absolutely, right?
yep,
I want
yep,
a Porsche, the flat six or whatever. I don't care. Put me in something, right?
yes,
Every car is so unique, you
yeah,
know, right? And
yeah,
I think that's what I think a lot of drivers appreciate. I think if you ask a lot of drivers,
yep,
what their manufacturer, they would have the exact same answer you had, right?
yes,
I mean, I'm sure they all had their all, the same thing. We grew up with GMs or whatever, but I
yep.
don't think a race car driver is going to turn down whatever it is. He would drive it no matter what,
No,
right?
no,
Oh yeah, sure,
no,
right?
no. I heard an interesting story about Jimmy Johnson the other day.
Okay,
The 7-time NASCAR
yeah,
champion.
yeah,
And he was going towards IndyCar racing, but he was a Chevrolet guy. That was the manufacturer he was affiliated with when he was doing the off-road truck racing stuff.
okay,
And they were gravitating away from IndyCar at that point. And so they had a conversation with him and said, "Hey, if you're going to make a career of this, you probably should look at NASCAR." So there's a guy who like followed his manufacturer almost. I'm not sure. I think they are still Chevrolet in NASCAR, like the team that he owns. But yeah, he that's a great example of somebody who, I guess had the benefit of being able to kind of call their shot and be like, I'm good enough that I can just go with this manufacturer. But for us poor schmucks like you and me, we just take whatever we can get.
Oh my gosh, there's somebody if they brought back the Yugo car from
Yeah,
Yugoslavia,
yeah,
didn't
yep,
start from the getting off the dealership being an Eastern European boy, I'd still drive it. I don't care.
right,
I
yeah,
might only go 5 kilometers an hour down the road, with a broken tire and some water going out. I'd still have a blast, to be honest,
yeah,
right? Do you
yep.
have when you race cars, do you have like a meal that you have to eat every time before you go into the car? Like, is there a ritual that Jory has?
That's funny because drag racing is so different from every other type of motorsport where
Right.
our days are strung out over 12, 14 hours of competition. So we'll qualify at 10 a.m. and still be racing at 10 p.m. the
Oh my
same
God.
day. Yeah, so it's about managing a whole day for me. Um, and it starts with breakfast. I just like a light sort of breakfast. I don't pump myself full of grease and sugar, and it's balance. It's about balance. And then I'll eat a few like protein based things throughout the day, maybe a half a banana. I'm famous for the half banana, so like I'll wander around the pits and say, does anybody want a half a banana? Because I only want half. I'm trying to keep myself even, no caffeine. There's lots of drivers who do things differently. That's my routine, is like a nice breakfast that fuels me for the whole day, but then just kind of supplementing as the day goes on. Tons of water. I probably pee like 10 times a day when I'm at the racetrack just because I'm
Yep.
like pumping the water through, making sure I'm not dehydrated. That is a huge factor in as people who do long distance racing would talk about too. It's that's the reason they've developed cool suits and things with air blowing in around their faces and
Exactly.
to try and keep them from getting dehydrated, because that is a huge factor in mental function. So
Have you ever
yeah,
gotten your
it's
suit?
what's that?
So, like some of us open wheel guys, we've gone in our suit just going to the bathroom while we're racing. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
Oh
Okay. No, no.
no, no, oh no. Oh no, I go into the bathroom in my suit, but I've never gone in my suit. Never
No, you
had
never
to.
got in your suit?
No, never had to. No.
Happened once to
We're
me. I
because
had to
we
go. I had
go
to go so bad, and I went right in my suit. Oh yeah, no. I
I
honestly, like, I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm like, I probably started the race, and I went to the
yeah,
bathroom before, and I probably drank
yeah,
too much water,
yeah,
and I think it was like 7 minutes into the race, and I was like, I gotta go. I can't pull in the
yeah,
pits.
yeah,
And You just got to go.
Yeah, yeah, and it messes with your focus for
Oh,
sure.
for sure.
So the thing we're lucky to have in drag racing is time between our runs.
Right.
So it's kind of structured in a way that like you're going to have a little gap before the next one. So you come back, you can have some water. You have like an hour in between, so you know that you're going to be able to go to the washroom before you go again, and then it might be from the time we leave the pit area to the time we finish the run for a really extreme scenario, 45 minutes. So
Okay.
it's not really that long of a period of time. Um, but I would go in my suit if I was sitting there getting ready to race and I had the option between go to the bathroom or miss my race. I would
But
go in my
sometimes the
suit.
adrenaline's right there. You can't stop it.
Yeah.
I think people don't
Yeah.
realize, right? Like when you're
No.
so focused on racing and the adrenaline's right there, you don't even think about it, right? It's just
Yes. Yeah.
racing is such a mental thing that I don't think a lot of people realize.
Oh,
You
it's
know?
way more mental than physical by any
Yeah.
means. You need to have some physical skill,
Yep.
like seat of the pants feel, we call it, right? Where you can
Yep.
feel the car and manipulate your hands and your body to do the things they need to do. But yeah, the mental side of it is everything. I mean, that's what makes me good. I don't have the best seat of the pants feel. My dad has a way better one of those than I do. Um, but my mental preparation and the way that I think about what I'm going to do um, makes me very, very consistently good at it, which I think is at the end of the day, um, you need both of those things to be good.
Right.
I mean, Max Verstappen is mentally very
Oh,
consistent,
correct.
and he's got physical gifts. So,
Yes.
yeah,
I mean, I think his mom won the karting championship when he was a kid. And it's just
right.
seen it. But
Yes.
what goes through your head when the tree drops?
Don't be late.
Don't be like, no, I don't go
No,
there like into yourself and
honestly,
think,
honestly, it's and you would be able to sort of grasp this. Um, I think anyone who's played a sport at a level where you go out on to the field of play or into the event, as soon as the engine starts to go up, it's just about hitting my marks. So there
right,
is no thinking. I rehearse in this chair that I'm sitting in right now.
right.
All of the steps from hands to feet to head turns to visor to everything, so that I'm really never thinking.
Okay.
I'm literally like just going up there and doing the routine that I know how to do. And I think that's part of the reason I'm so good, because I think a lot of people do think. And if you can sort of remove the thinking from it, it becomes very natural.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking, you get in trouble. And not to say that I haven't thought when I've been up there
Oh,
before. But yeah, I'm not thinking anything. I'm not thinking I need to take a deep breath. I'm not thinking I need to focus. I'm not none of that. I've done all that. I've already put myself in that zone before I even get to that point. It's just about going through the motions of getting that car staged exactly right so that my rollout is exactly the same, so that my reaction time is exactly the same, so that the ET is exactly the same for the distance the car has to travel. That's literally what I'm focused on.
and it's almost like they say when you get into I'm pretty sure this is like everything, but if you're in a motorsport accident, they say relax your body.
Mm.
You're not tense, just let it happen, and
Mm-hmm.
your chances of breaking something are 10 times less than if
Mm.
you're thinking about
Mm-hmm.
it. You're up, right? It's just exactly the same thing, right? Have you
Yep.
ever had like an oh shit moment at speed?
Oh, I've had many. I've seen my dad have many.
Oh yeah,
The two sort of craziest ones that I have. One was we were racing in Bowling Green, Kentucky,
okay,
and we had a rule: don't hit the brakes in the modified car, because I was going 165 miles an hour going through the finish line, so 270 kilometers an hour.
yep,
And we would run these what they called radial tires. So they're a harder sidewall, like they'd be like a stock car tire kind of. So you don't
yep,
need a ton of air in them for them to be rigid. And we would run these and they would get really narrow and the car would kind of like do this at 165 mile an hour. And I remember it was like the third or fourth round, and for whatever reason my brain was like, we need to hit the brakes. So I did, and the ass end just like jumped, like literally like jumped. And I'm like, if people could have seen my face watching from the sidelines when that happened, it probably would have looked like I saw a ghost. Like it was scary. I never touched the brakes again. And that's one of those things that like you have a rule, you're racing, you're kind of messing around with it, right? And also it could have been the perfect world scenario where like the car just did a wiggle right at the time that I hit the brakes, and it threw it way off, which happens in racing
So it was like
sometimes. And so
squatting and sliding almost.
it it's hard to explain what it is. It's like a butt wiggle. So like the
Like
back of
almost
the
like a
car would.
trailer on the back of a car, like in
Yeah,
snow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Okay.
the back's just wiggling, but you're going
Yeah.
165 miles an hour, and the tire patch is probably like at that point the width of a regular street tire. I mean, they start out like a slick, but then they narrow up quite a bit. So you're tempting fate by touching the brakes doing that, and that was a time where my butt puckered for sure. And then I had a bad wreck where I barrel rolled 4 times, allegedly, according to
Yep.
bystanders. Um, it felt like once to me in the car, and I walked away with no like physical injuries other than my neck and brain being scrambled.
Was that from the
Um,
Hans device?
no, I don't wear a Hans device. I wear a
Oh, I guess that's a good
I
question.
wear something like a Hans device. I mean, it's
Okay.
over my shoulders and it's tethered, but I didn't have one in that car
Okay.
because of the rules didn't require it for how fast we went. So I went 150-ish miles an hour in that car in the quarter mile. So it was not required to have the head and neck restraint device.
Do they use them in drag racing now?
I don't think it would have helped me.
Do they
It
use
was
them in?
all sideways G forces.
Okay, but do they use them now or no?
Uh,
Is
Probably
Hans?
not
I don't
in
know
that
what
class,
device
but
is. Like Hans device, is a head and neck. For those that are listening or watching, a Hans device just literally means head and neck restraint system or
yep,
whatever it is, right?
yep, yep,
But I don't know what drag racing has. Like it's usually, an open wheel and NASCAR, rallying, they have them. I'm not sure what
yeah.
drag racing has.
Drag racing does have it. They use something called a hybrid, which is actually a carbon fiber X-shaped unit that goes over their shoulders, and the belts sit in it. And it kind of stabilizes the helmet almost with like because you don't really have to turn your head in those fuel cars. You're just like straight. So it kind of stabilizes the helmet this way, but it's also got straps holding it so that the forward and backward momentum doesn't happen. But in that accident that I had, because it was a slower car, there are less safety things revolving around the driver's protection. So I have a
Yeah.
full roll cage around me, but like there's this much space around me in it. And I'm strapped in tight. So the only thing that's loose are my arms and my legs and my head. So I'm
Okay.
doing barrel rolls and my head's just going like this. Um, that one was bad. I mean, I don't know if I blacked out, but I know that I felt like it only rolled once, and everybody was like, no, it was like 4 times. It destroyed the car, touched every
It just goes so
corner.
fast. I think that's the
It
problem. It's just
happens so fast. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, and we were racing on a track we probably shouldn't have been racing on, and I was doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing on that track, and it's just one of those things where you get caught up in the moment, and if I look back now, like I would never make the same choice again. But you don't. It's like touching
yeah.
the brakes. It's like touching the brakes at 165 miles an hour. It's like, well, I won't do that again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got away with it that time, and then there was another time, and you'll like this story. This is a good one. That same year, so I had concussion on top of concussion, and the first concussion was we were racing in New York, and my dad had done a bunch of work on the car before the event,
Okay.
and he had one of the frost plugs out of the block.
Okay.
which keeps the water in. And the reason there's a frost plug is to let the cooling agent out, which is water in a lot of cases, especially in drag racing, it is. So it doesn't freeze in the block and break your block. And so my dad forgot to tighten it fully. And I go out to do the first pass, and that sucker pops out, and there's a stream of water like that thick coming out of the side of the block, right under my left rear slick. I'm in the right lane, and there's a competitor in the left lane,
Yep.
and we both take off, and the car just goes straight. All I saw was the side of the other guy's car.
I believe it.
So I just cranked the wheel as hard as I could, missed the far guardrail, but because I had the wheel cranked so hard, when it hooked, when those rear tires hook, it
Yep.
just goes. So
Yep.
it came back the other way, and I missed the guardrail. Like you couldn't have slid a piece of paper between the bumper and the guardrail of the car. And I was up on two wheels like this, scraped the rocker panels on the driver's side. That's how like far up I was. Never wrecked it. It did have damage from going up and coming down because there's not suspension in those cars,
Right.
or not much of a suspension. So that one was crazy because I say my dad tried to kill me that day.
You have
He
that on a,
swears he just answered. He said I answered the phone when it rang and then forgot to finish what I was doing. That's what he says. So
maybe it's got
crazy.
ADD like me. You never know, right? So,
He definitely has a bit of ADD.
oh
There's
yeah,
no doubt. Yeah.
yeah.
Who doesn't? I think that all humans have a bit of ADD depending on the situation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Would you say that's your worst mechanical failure then? We'll tie that into that then, I guess. Or is that,
Ah,
or has there been something worse than that? Because I think that's a pretty good story. Like, I mean, like the water comes
yeah.
out, hits the rear tire, like it's just a
Yeah. I
simple,
mean,
right?
very dangerous in drag racing because there's no
Exactly.
tread on anything. And you've literally coated the asphalt with rubber. So
Yep.
nothing goes through. It just sits on top. So you're like, it's like a skating rink, like throwing, a bag of pucks out on a skating rink. They just go
Yep.
wherever their momentum takes them. So I literally had one tire hooking and one skating, and it just drove the car. But I would say, yeah, that's probably the most dramatic one. Like we've definitely
Yeah.
had engines get damaged, and have to send them away for repair, but never like a catastrophic
No.
explosion. My dad has had some pretty dramatic things, but he also raced at a level where that's part of the expectation too, is that stuff's going to break because you're stressing it so much that it's just not, it's built for that, but it, at some point you get one, rod that wasn't manufactured completely perfectly, or a valve that just decides that it's had enough and it drops, and your whole engine explodes. Like that happens to those nitro engines quite regularly. So he's had many, but for me, I've been in cars that are a lot more tame,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or so it
But
would seem. I mean, I've had some crazy stuff happen, but
no, I was just gonna say, I think it also he grew up in a generation or a different era where, and I think this is all with all motorsports, is it was definitely more of an experiment,
hmm
right? They didn't have the
totally.
computers they did today, right? So I mean, like you look
Yep.
at the charged cars from Formula One back in the '80s. They could have said they had 1,400 horsepower, 1,600 horsepower. But who knows what they were actually pushing, right?
Nope.
You didn't know, right? And it was the same thing.
Nope.
Oh, it's gonna last half a lap or a lap or whatever. We'll just try again next race or next lap or whatever, right? It's so
Yep.
different compared to nowadays where you have so much computers and emphasis on it to see what it is. But I think I look back at your dad's generation and the era that they grew up in, and I'm like, man, oh man, it'd be such a time to, not know what you're trying out, but just to try it out and say you did, right? You just never knew, right?
Yeah.
What was the
Yeah.
closest? What was the closest race you actually had, like in terms of
Oh,
finishing?
oh, there's been some close ones, but the best one ever was, so we measure our reaction time in hundredths, tenths, hundredths, and thousandths of a second.
Okay.
So when you leave the starting line, you want to be like no tenths, maybe a,
Right.
a couple hundredths and a couple thousandths. So you're like, it's quick. You're trying to be
Yep.
quick.
Yep.
Um, and we were in Pennsylvania in 2024, and it was like, I don't know, 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, and it was first round, racing this guy from, I think he's from New York, and he was 001 on the tree, so like 1,000th of 1 second reaction time, and I was 002 on the tree, which is 2,000ths of a second. So we're
Oh my
pretty much
God.
equal. Oh yeah, and this is insane for like Saturday morning,
Right.
at that time of day. Uh, Probably the two best reaction times of the whole round,
That
and they were
close.
beside each other. Um, and the race was decided by 15 thousandths of a second, so 100th plus
Yep.
5 thousandths. Like it's insane. Your brain can barely grasp that, but like I could tell you that he was ahead of me going to the finish line.
Right.
Um, and so he would have beaten me by, if he beat me by 15 thousandths, he ran 14 thousandths better than me based on our times at the finish
How
line. So
close would a
like
finish that be? Like a photo finish?
it's
Like how like
it's
or
about
does
five it's
does
about
it
5 feet, believe it or not. It's about
5 feet?
five feet at that speed at like
That's
160
that's a
miles an
close
hour. Oh yeah,
five
yeah, yeah. And
thing.
that's nothing. No, oh yeah, no, it's like the fender, right? It's like the
Yeah,
front fender,
exactly.
and that's it. Yeah. And so
Holy.
I've traditionally been the faster car in our races because we do staggered starts. So
Yep.
he would have started before me because he was a slower car, and I would be catching him, and everything equal, we would tie at the end, but that never works out that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm catching him the whole way down the track and trying to judge, am I going to pass him? Am I going to, is he going to beat me to the finish line? And we're doing this at like 100, and he was probably going 140. I'm going 160. And you're kind of looking over, trying to be like, do I take the finish line? Do I let him have it? How do we do this? It's a whole thing. You and I've talked a little bit about how confusing drag racing is at the level that I do it at. It's not as simple as the fast cars where they just go as fast as they can from one end to
Right.
the other. We're actually being very strategic with our finishes, but like 15 thousandths is actually a pretty, I won't say typical finish, but it happens a lot in drag racing that the finishes are that close because that's the whole point. We're trying to do it so that we're perfect at the other end. Our
Yeah.
reaction time's perfect, the car runs perfect. Doesn't always work that way, but when it does for both people, it's that close at the finish.
Especially stressing the cars that much.
Yeah.
Mechanically, right? What's
Yeah.
your fastest run ever?
169 miles an hour in testing in St. Louis last year in a so like basically a factory Mustang,
No.
supercharged Mustang, 169 miles an hour. Yeah,
You're
crazy.
hey, you're
Yeah, I
not
mean
for
that's like
races.
275 kilometers an hour, and that was in 8.3 seconds. So you're going from 0 to 275 kilometers an hour in 8 seconds, basically.
Shell would
It's
be
crazy.
sponsoring. Okay, just the amount of fuel that just sucks gets sucked down that.
We burn, oh yeah, and it's not cheap either. Like
No,
a 5 gallon can of the fuel we burn in the car we have now is $100.
it's not like menthol, is it? Or not ethanol? Sorry, it's not like
Methanol, no, no, we
ethanol.
don't
Okay.
burn methanol, but there are cars that
Oh,
do. And then nitromethane, I think for a 25-gallon drum is like $2,500. So you can do the math. $100 a gallon. Yeah,
yeah. No,
crazy,
I think I'll stick to like PlayStation 5 now because you don't have to worry about the
right?
fuel. Because I just worry about
Yeah.
hydro when I run it. Yeah. No, I got before I let you go, Jory. I got some rapid fire questions we're gonna ask you.
Sure. Yeah.
This is so fun. Like it's gone by so fast. Like it's already been an hour and
Oh,
nine.
yeah, we could go forever. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
for
this would be
sure.
like full day show, you know. You find like,
the
so
the late shift slash early shift
oh my
slash
God,
day shift sports show.
but we would not have enough words, letters for the website, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's go with this one: streetcar or track only.
Oh, streetcar. I think I like a really cool streetcar any
Yep.
day. Yeah.
Okay, turbo or supercharger?
I'm old school. I would go supercharger. I just
Superch-
love the sound of a supercharger whining like vroom, vroom.
Yep.
I just love that. Yeah, but turbos are
Uh,
super cool.
I'm gonna guess on your answer on this one: manual or auto.
Oh, stick all day.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. What's your dream car?
Whew, 69 Camaro, red, probably an SS. Hard top, not a convertible.
Yep.
Convertibles are cool. I would love to have one, but the first choice would be a hard top. Yeah.
Okay, like almost like a fastback, I guess.
No, no, no. The 69 Camaro is like, to me anyways, the most iconic Camaro.
Okay,
Um, it's just, it's that year that everybody kind of relates to. That's what a Camaro was.
okay,
Yeah.
all
Yep.
right. And who is your favorite driver of all time besides your
Man,
dad?
that's
Besides
a tough one.
number one, or
My
we can't.
we have to say he is,
For sure.
in case he watches this, but um I mean, there's just so many that I looked up to. But the one I would say, I love people who made it. They
Okay.
made it their living. So John Force is a name that everybody knows in
Yep.
motorsports because
Yep.
that's what he did. He was a friggin' kid from a trailer park that drove truck, and he did the grind for so many years, tried to kill himself many times, not in that way, but just because he was testing stuff and trying things and running on a budget and just like, he was on fire so many times in his car and built an empire. I mean, the guy is a multimillionaire just from his work in motorsports, and you have to respect that. Like, it's one thing to be a great driver. It's a whole nother thing to be someone who has business savvy, who hires good crew chiefs, who had no money to start with. Like, so many
Yep.
of the people that drive nowadays are, maybe they worked hard somewhere else in their life, or maybe their parents had money, and that doesn't take anything away from their talent, but they sure as hell don't know what it's like to have to grind like John
Yeah.
Force did to make it happen. So, and
Yeah,
there's
that's,
lots of examples of John Force too. But yeah, that doesn't exist in our world anymore today.
no. Well,
So
this isn't Formula One money. This is just real guys building, cars and shops. Like it
yeah,
really is, right?
exactly. That's the majority of us are,
Yeah.
is just average people trying to do stuff that we think is cool.
Yeah.
And then a few people are lucky enough to do it and get paid. I don't know, what does Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton make a year? What's
I
their
don't even want
paychecks, like a
I
hundred
remember
million
when
dollars
I
or
remember when Michael Schumacher back in like 2004 was making I think like over $110 million with
come
endorsement.
on,
Yeah,
20
like that was
years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah, I think his salary
Wow.
for Ferrari was like 45 million a year or something like that.
Come on.
And he was
So
I think he was the
that
highest
means
paid.
guys like Verstappen are probably making $250 million, like
Yeah, it's
250
something
million.
ridiculous. I looked at the business. There used to be a magazine I used to get, and it was literally the business side of Formula One.
Okay.
And it showed like the marketing, like how much each team gets from television rights and
Yep.
all that, right? And it was just stupid, like the amount of money that I saw going through there, right? And they
Yeah.
don't make it anymore, which is kind of a shame,
Yeah.
because I think, well, one, it's obviously a new owner that owns Formula One. It's not Bernie Ecclestone anymore, and Formula One management, all that stuff, right? But it was pretty cool to see to see how much they get paid and all that stuff, right? But yeah, no, I don't know I have no idea what Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton. No idea. No
It would be
idea.
insane money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would be like, here,
Yeah.
take my $1,000 and let me do like maybe not even a lap. I just want to start the thing up. So,
Maybe
but
just
Jordan,
peel off of pit road in it. That would be fun.
I just want to
Yeah.
be that fan that walks down to the stands after a race and just takes a tire home. That I'd be happy with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But Jory, it's been a pleasure, my friend. I'm glad that you came
Absolutely.
on here. I mean, like I said, it's
Yeah.
it's an hour 14. It's gone a little over, but nothing wrong with that because these are the conversations that I want to have on the Lake Shift Sports Show. Give that perspective of somebody that's grew up with drag racing, hockey, and all that stuff. And we'll get into that part two later on here in the season. But thanks a lot for coming on, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's good to share some stories and reminisce on racing
If
history.
I had another 2 hours to go, I'd say yes, but the Montreal Canadiens are playing tonight, so I
I
can't.
know. I know. We'll talk about, hopefully they're still playing when we do the next one so we can
I
talk
know,
about
I
that
know. I
when
hope these
in the
Toronto fans
hockey
are listening to me right
episode.
now. So
Ah, forget those Toronto fans. They're delusional. They need to give it up already. Yeah.
I reconverted Ashley, my girlfriend's stepdad, to becoming a
Okay.
Montreal. Toronto's
Hey.
out, right? Got another guy, Mike Farwell, that used to be on my show last season. I'm trying to convince him to become a Montreal Canadiens fan, but he does not like that word on his TV or on his radio show. So I don't know what to say. But Jory, it's been a pleasure. We're
Yeah.
gonna schedule a thing, guys, in the coming up later on. We'll have them again this season here. It's been a pleasure learning about drag racing. We're getting to hockey now. The next time Jory comes on, and then we're gonna tie in mental health and what that is with both hockey and car racing because I think
Yeah.
it's just they come two and two together. They're together and what it's like. But Jory, it's been a pleasure, my friend, and I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
You bet. I'm happy to have done it with you.
Thanks.